What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm on Talks and Gaming today, people. Today we are going to be going over the 10 decks that are being used the most in Speed Duel. So this is like a meta overview. All this information is used by a tool called the Speed Duel Library by Keebler from the Speed Duel League Discord. If you're not part of the Speed Duel League Discord, make sure that you leave a comment in the comment section down below so I can send you a link. But yeah, these are all the 10 decks that are currently being used in Speed Duels in the meta game. So I wanted to go over each individual list, or a list that uses these skills at least. That way you know exactly what's going on. So first off, we're going to be going over the My Precious Queen deck. Now, My Precious Queen is, the best skill of the format. It has this ability to generate a brand new token during each player's end phase, even if you haven't even started your turn yet in the duel. Not only that, but you can tribute summon level 7 insect monsters with 1 less tribute, and on top of that, if you would use the effect of Insect Queen, you can actually tribute insect materials from your hand. So it does 3 separate things for free, which is something we have not seen in the Speed Duel game since forever. So this deck in general is just doing so much for so little cost, and it has really started making waves and has created this entire format that is defined around it. Now, what does this deck look like? Essentially, you're seeing decks like this. Now, before we get into like the overview about this, I do want to say every list you're going to see for this video is from the Speed Duel League Discord. So again, if you want a link to it, leave a comment down below. But yeah, this is like the Red Eyes build of the deck, and it's very strong. I've been playing this at locals lately, and it's really overpowered. The only cards that I don't personally like is the Red Eyes Baby Dragon, but a lot of people are on it at 3, so maybe I'm just wrong on that card. But for the most part, this deck is extremely strong because you're generating your advantage every single turn by getting a single token to the field. You can utilize your token Sundays to destroy those tokens that you're generating to destroy multiple cards on your opponent's side of the field. Then you use cards like Red Eyes Gearfried the Knight, equipping it with Blast Witch Chain to not only pop a spell or trap card your opponent controls, but also pop a monster. And then you can continuously get rid of these spell and trap cards with your Gearfried with cards like Black Metal Dragon, or by your opponent attacking to your Baby Dragons. Now, not only that, but not only is Baby Dragon a recruiter that can summon out Gearfried, but also Metal Dragon has an ability where it's sent to the graveyard even by Gearfried's ability. You can actually search a Red Eyes card to your hand, which is overpowered in itself. But this deck is just genuinely about either stalling the opponent out or creating such an advantage against your opponent that you're just able to whittle them away. And so it has definitely defined itself as the best deck of the meta and has shaped the entire meta around it. The next skill on our list is actually going to be Knights of Legend. Now, this deck in particular is a really good meta call for the format itself. So Knights of Legends, if you don't know, is an ability that has this effect that pretty much makes Gaia the Fierce Knight into a piercer. So you flip this card over when you activate the skill. Activate the skill during the main phase. Each turn, a Gaia the Fierce Knight you normal summon would be summoned without tributing. Cool. You can summon your Gaia the Fierce Knights without tributing. Apply the following effects while you control a Gaia the Fierce Knight or a Gaia the Dragon Champion. If it attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage. So it gives the Gaia the ability to summon without tributing, and also gives them the ability to pierce the opponent, piercing the tokens and dealing a 2200 attack point damage, which is insane in this deck. It also has the ability that once per turn, if you inflict battle damage with this skill, you draw 2 cards and discard 1 card, which is an ability that lets you to keep up with the opponent's advantage that they are gaining with you. So you're actually able to essentially draw a new card to your hand every single time that you deal your piercing damage. That way you can stay on top of the token generation. The only downside of this skill is you cannot activate set cards in your spell and trap card zone, but once you see the list, you'll see we don't really need that. So the list itself is pretty much just summoning the Gaia the Fierce Knight and actually using the Sphere Karibos to protect himself. You can also use Book of Moons to switch monsters to defense mode. Use the Heat Wave, that way they have to pretty much hide behind generated tokens. Night Beams to get rid of powerful spell and trap cards. Summoner's Art, that way you can grab your Gaia's back to your hand, and then Sword of Poison to double your Gaia's attack points, making him 4600, and that is lethal in Speed Duels once you hit over that 100 defense point token. And then once you find yourself in a scenario where you're playing against a different deck, say like Cyber Angels, you can actually change to the Relinquish build, which is in your side. That way you can actually steal the Azana. That way you still can pivot away from being the insect killer and also be a Cyber Angel killer as well. And speaking of Cyber Angels, that is the third deck on our list, being Machine Angel Ascension. Machine Angel Ascension essentially just says you can ditch a spell card from your hand and grab a Cyber Angel Ritual monster or Cyber Angel Ritual spell from your deck to your hand. So it makes the deck way more consistent than what it already is. Not only that, but on the new ban list and everything, the Cyber Angel actually got a buff from it, because not only did Floodgate Tripole go to 1, which was the Cyber Angel killer, but also Machine Angel Ritual went from 3 to 2, so you can actually play 3 Ben 10 to Machine Angel Ritual, and the deck does perfectly fine. It's very strong this format, and it's actually been paired with Aerosol Aerocan, which you will see right here. So the deck itself has not seen too many changes outside the Aerocan actually going to the main deck. So when you're playing this deck, it's just one of those things. You just go for your full combo, make it a 3,500, 4,500 attack point monster, and then you just start swinging. Zana herself can clear 2 tokens on her own, but if you have the Bug Spray, you can clear the full field and then just hit directly for game. It's very strong. It's a very good deck. Being able to creature swap cards away from your opponent is really good as well. And all in all, I think the deck is just a really good deck for you to be playing right now if you're wanting to get into speed duels but not wanting to play the current bug deck. Fourth on our list is actually Battle City Siren. I think this deck is more of a side deck thing. There's not a lot of decks in the Discord that actually utilize this card, funny enough. I think the card itself is really cool, and again, it's very side deck dependent. I think that a lot of decks are going to be playing it to switch those tokens to attack mode and attack into the opponent. So if you're looking for just a side deck tech that is being used a lot, this is definitely the card you want to be throwing into your side deck. That way you can be dealing mad damage to your opponent. Next on our list is Guardians of the Tomb. Guardians of the Tomb is a trap monster based deck, and honestly, it's probably one of my favorite decks of the current format. It has an ability that reads that at the start of the duel, you flip it over during your opponent's main phase. When a monster is special summoned from your spell and trap card zone to your field while you have no cards in your hand, you draw 1 card, and if you can set 1 spell or trap from your hand, you can set it. So that's really cool. So the reason why this is good is because you're actually able to, again, keep up with the advantage your opponent is getting off their token every single turn, while also being able to summon strong monsters to attack into the opponent's generated tokens. It does really well in specific decks. Me personally, I'm playing it in Winnabox right now, and the deck that I'm seeing like people post about in the Discord is actually Crystal Beast. Now, I believe this was posted by Dr. Tinstrap in the Discord, so big shout out to him. But this deck in general is free from the list. We got Crystal Regeki back, and so it's actually able to utilize Book of Moons, Crystal Regeki, Zones of Spirits, and also be able to generate advantage every turn by summoning these trap monsters to the field. So not only are you able to use your Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus to bring Topaz Tigers or another Pegasus to your spell and trap card zone to be used for your Conclaves and Regekis, but you can also be able to summon your trap monsters to the field to continuously get rid of tokens and gain advantage. The Super Rush Recklessly trap card is actually really good with the trap monsters because they can become beast monsters while on the field, so you can send them to the graveyard as cost and then blow up cards your opponent controls. All in all, it's a really fun deck, and I understand why it's seeing competitive play right now. Again, I'm choosing this deck over any other deck in the format as my go-to deck, so I highly recommend this deck as well. Number 6 on the list is actually Dark Unity. Dark Unity is a Dark Fusion spell or skill, and really the part of the skill that you really need to worry about the most is the last part that just says discard 1 card, then add 1 Dark Fusion from your deck to your hand. Of course, this skill can only be used once per duel, but that's not the point. The point is to get that Dark Fusion to your hand. And the reason why is because of this list right here. You're actually able to get the Dark Fusion to your hand and then use Raviel, Lord of Striking Flames, and your Magna Warrior, Valkyria and the Magna Warrior. That way you can get a over 8,000 attack point monster, being the evil hero Dark Gaia, that can actually change the token to attack position and deal all that damage to your opponent right there and then. It's super strong, and it's one of the easiest way to climb a token, and you're playing an OTK deck on top of that. It is probably a really good OTK deck to be playing this format, and I understand why we're seeing it at number 6 on this list. Heart of a Warrior is going to be number 7 on our list. So Heart of a Warrior has a special ability that allows you to actually summon warrior monsters from your extra deck just by discarding a card from your hand. And it's once per turn, not even once per duel. So this card, it stays on par with like decks that don't really have a lot of cost, such as My Precious Queen. The only downside to this skill is you can't normal summon or set, but you can easily get around that by special summoning monsters. This deck in particular really does like portray on that. The reason that it's so good is because you're actually utilizing the skill. You're going to be pitching your Carbon Yedons to the graveyard, summoning your fusion monsters, being you like Flame Swordsman or Giltia, and then you will summon the Red Eyes Black Dragon to your field. On top of that, you can actually play the Champion's Vigilance, which is probably one of our strongest counter trap cards in the format now because of this format. You're actually able to use this card because you control the Red Eyes, and you're able to negate Token Sundays and cards like that that can easily destroy your field. Again, you're seeing the Gear Free make an appearance in this deck with the Blasphemous Chain, so you're able to get around high attack monsters such as the Princess Bug, and we also have the DD Warrior Lady and the Windstorms in here as well. It's a very strong and competitive deck, and I've been seeing a lot of people in my local game store playing a lot, and I have gotten smacked by it. So if you're looking for a Red Eyes build and looking for something fun to play and that can compete in this meta, this is the deck for you. So let's go ahead and talk about Iron Grit. Iron Grit was originally my favorite deck of the format whenever this format started, and we weren't really sure how the format was going to evolve. But it evolved the exact way we thought it would. Gearfree the Iron Knight you control are unaffected by card effects. This becomes a tower. It's really hard to out this monster unless you have a monster with 1850 or more attack points. That's why it's a little bit lower on the list, because you can actually generate the Guiltias with the Heart of the Warrior skill, but that's not here or there. Iron Grit has this ability that, causes your Gearfree the Iron Knights to not be destroyed by card effects, and that can really come up. The deck we're seeing it come up the most against is in the Wildfire deck, because you can actually utilize Wildfire while you have Blaze Accelerator to send all monsters on the field to the graveyard and generate a token. Now, it does have a downside from Wildfire that says that monsters you control cannot declare an attack, but that's affecting the monsters. It's not affecting you as a player. So Gearfree the Iron Knight not only is not getting destroyed by Wildfire, but is also able to actually attack your opponent for 1800 and slowly whittle them away like that. You also use cards like Volcanic Rocket to make the deck more consistent to get that Blaze Accelerator to your hand. Blasphemous Chain is used in this deck because it can be attached to your Gearfree the Iron Knight, automatically blowing itself up to destroy monsters your opponent controls, so it has spot removal. And then it also utilizes like Zone of Spirit, Windstorms, and reinforcements to get your DD Warrior Ladies and your Gearfrees. It's a very consistent and strong deck, and whenever I was playing it, I was actually playing a Macrocosmos builds that use Grand Convergence. But all in all, I feel like this deck is a very competitive deck, and it's something that you should at least keep an eye out on and try for yourself if you're not interested in playing Bug. Now we're really getting into the sauce of the list. Union Combination is a skill that kind of is being played right now because I believe people are excited because it got Union Hanger got taken off the list. So people are just excited to be playing the deck in general. So I feel like that's the reason why it's on number 9 on the list. But it also does have really good aspects in this format because you're able to actually get rid of multiple cards on the field possibly. But it has this ability that says once per turn during your main phase, you can place one card from your hand to the bottom of your deck, and special summon a Light Machine fusion monster from your extra deck that cannot be fusion summoned using monsters from your field or graveyard as material, ignoring summoning conditions. For the rest of this turn, your opponent takes no damage. So this is really good because you're actually able to summon out XYZ Dragon Cannon. Now, Dragon Cannon can be used to ditch multiple cards from your hand, not once per turn, to destroy cards your opponent controls. Not only that, but you can go into your other pieces as well that are just really nice to have. Union Hanger, again, is freed from the list, so you can actually play your Book of Moons in the deck again. And then you have Union Scramble, which honestly should have been the card that got hit but wasn't, is also being played at 3 in the deck as well. This is a different dimension reborn, I believe, and so it's actually able to reborn 3 of your Union Combination pieces back to the field after they say Token Sunday your Dragon Cannon. That way you can bring it back again. Zero Gravity is in this list. Probably should play Windstorm instead, but I digress. And then we're also on the 1 of Floodgate. All in all, I think this deck is just a fun deck if you want to try out some cards that got taken off the list. And then lastly is Cocoon of Ultra Evolution. If you guys are familiar with Speed Duels format and you're not new to it, you have already seen this card too many times. Once per turn during the main phase, you can use one of the following skills. Tribute an insect monster from either field equipped with an equip card, and if you do special summon one insect monster from your deck ignoring summoning conditions, you cannot know or special summon monsters the turn you activate this skill. So at the end of this turn, flip this card over. It also has an additional ability that allows you to shuffle an insect monster from your graveyard into your deck and draw one card. So yeah, the deck does 2 different things, both for practically free, and again, that's the reason why this card was so powerful and why we're seeing My Precious Queen be so powerful, is because there's no cost to these skills, and it's creating like really degenerate formats. Cocoon of Ultra Evolution is seeing play once again as our number 10 spot, but this is really the only deck on the Discord I could see that people are actually using. So again, it's one of those things where it's a number 10 on the spot, so somebody's probably using it a little bit, and we're probably seeing it in side decks and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's just like cool, I guess. We're all just playing Speed Duels and back on Moth. I don't really want to go over too much about this deck. It looks interesting. I mean, the pawn search for the piece equips to the monster. You use the skill, you summon the moss. Okay, we figured it out. Like the spell cancel here is really interesting. 8 Cheated Hearts gives them piercing and 500 attack points. It's just an interesting deck altogether. Again, if you are interested in checking out this channel, This is the Speed Duel League Library by Keebler. The link to it is going to be in the description down below. It's a really good tool. You have multiple things that you can use for it, being the top 10 skills here. It actually, as you can see, has Speed Duel TV, which is their Twitch, so you can go and watch that at any point. Not only that, but you also have like this little thing that's Knights of Legends, so you can watch it on Dueling Book here. And then if you ever need to, you can actually go here to cards and search for any card you want in Speed Duels and just look at the format. As you can see, there's 43 pages, so every single card in Speed Duel is here, including all the skills. So if you need to read a card in particular, this is probably the place to go. But if you all enjoy this type of content, make sure you leave a like on this video, make sure you subscribe to see more, and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.